Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Russell Matthews here, and if you've been following the channel for a little while, you'll probably already know about the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, a benefit meant to allow you to take 2 weeks to stay at home if you feel like you've been in contact with somebody who has COVID, so as to not spread the virus further. At its core, the benefit's designed to help fill in the gaps for companies that don't offer paid sick leave so that people aren't incentivized to keep going into work even though they're feeling sick. But it seems more and more people and politicians are stepping up saying, hey, there are some major problems with this program in that it is not enough to actually do what it's supposed to do. Now there's more and more support for additional benefits to be put into place for people who find themselves in this situation. And just last night there was a story on CBC News that covers just that and some of the details on how it applies to Ontario, but also how it could apply to the rest of the country. Let's take a look at it.
Rasheb Brown has worked at a grocery store in Toronto for more than 10 years, yet he worries staying home sick would cost him.
I won't be able to pay my rent, might end up on the street because I might burn through my savings, eventually. So it's very real for me.
He wants paid sick leave in case he needs to get tested for COVID-19.
Just having that reassurance that I'm going to get paid is like I'm not putting myself and other people in public at risk, right?
Okay.
I'm not putting my coworkers at risk.
So that's one of the reasons that this CRSB was put into place in the first place. But the question still remains right now is if you've applied for this once, you're currently not able to apply for it again. So what happens if you have multiple scares like this? Are you going to be forced to go to work? Right? It looks like more and more people are sort of putting their support behind adding these additional benefits in order to help sort of counteract this problem.
But from retail to industrial work, many blue-collar employees don't have that option.
Most provinces in Canada, including Ontario, do not provide for paid sick days.
Some local politicians and health officials are calling for that to change.
I hear complaints every single day from constituents who are saying that this is something they need. This is a support that will make a difference in the spread of COVID-19.
Very simply.
In September, the federal government introduced the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, $500 a week if a person can't work for at least half of their scheduled hours. But while cases of COVID have kept rising since then, approved applications for the sickness benefit have fallen from more than 60,000 a week in September to just 17,000 in December.
Let's take a closer look at that graph. Let's really dig into what this is saying. I'm going to move myself down here so that you can see what we're talking about here. But it seems like as the daily average of COVID cases has gone up, we've seen this huge spike over the course of the second wave. Also, this benefit that should be allowing people to take this time off and stay at home instead of going to work, this is going down. Now, there could be a couple of reasons why this is happening. First off, back here, when we're seeing this high amount of people being approved for this benefit, this is right at the onset of the benefits introduction, right? This came in around the same time as the CRB. And I think this points to how short-lived the benefit is, right? You can only apply for it for a maximum of 2 weeks, up to a maximum of $1,000 for those 2 weeks. So likely people were concerned or had these scares and they needed to stay home and they applied for the benefit at the beginning, and that's why we see this surge of applications. But of course, once you've applied for it once, it's only a one-time benefit. You're not able to keep on getting this money every time you experience something like this. And we see the amount of applications approved going down here and then sort of trailing off and going down further as the numbers are going higher in terms of COVID cases. Again, I think this is pointing to the fact that people, as these case numbers were rising, they applied right around here, right? And now as that we're weeks past this, they're no longer able to apply for this benefit when they may need it the most. I'll clear all of this up and I'll move myself back up to this corner so we can keep on seeing if there's any explanations for why exactly this is happening. Let's go.
18,000 in December.
The sick leave benefit is very cumbersome, and workers, they have to apply for it. They have to know how to apply for it, have the ability to apply for it.
Okay, so that's the answer we're looking for. It seems like they're stating here that it's because it's so difficult to apply for this benefit that people aren't applying, and they may not know exactly how they qualify, and especially people right now are scared to apply for benefits because there's so much controversy around what the CRA is going to ask back and if there's going to be changes to the rules later down the line. So it's a tough situation right now.
They also have to wait.
Toronto's mayor wants both the federal and provincial governments to step up and do more.
I'm almost to the hair lighting on fire time with this, where the fact there has been no response from anybody about this.
But today, Premier Ford wouldn't budge,
We aren't going to duplicate areas of support.
leaving workers
Yeah,
like
so
Brown
we see this, it's sort of focusing on Ontario right now because we're seeing such a huge number of case increases, but this will likely apply to the rest of the country if they're going into similar situations. Just in that clip, we saw the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, saying, hey, we're not going to double up on these benefits that are already created by the federal government, essentially passing the buck to the federal government, saying, hey, you should make this something that people can apply for multiple times, or at least have some other support, right? Because even if they applied for the CRSB, the sickness benefit, you can apply for that and not have to turn down work or anything like this that you need to in order to qualify for the CRB. You'll remember for this larger benefit, the CRB, you have to be able to prove that you've been looking for work. For workers like these that we're talking, people in the gig economy, they can always continue to work, right? They can always choose their own hours, so they're not able to apply for the CRB. But the CRSB is something that they can do so that they can stay home and not have to work, but maybe this benefit isn't enough with its longevity.
leaving workers like Brown to choose between taking precautions and getting paid. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Yeah, so that's definitely a pertinent story for what's happening right now. As we're seeing more and more expansive lockdowns and precautions being taken in provinces like Ontario and Quebec, it makes sense that people are talking about this huge gap, right? If people aren't incentivized to stay home when they're sick, then that could contribute to a huge spike in cases as people are essentially forced to go out and do the work they need to do to survive. Many Canadians are lucky to be in a position where they can work from home, and even if they're feeling sick, they're not going into work and risking other people, and they're able to keep on working from home and making money. But for a large amount of people, this simply isn't the case. You need to be out there and doing things in order to make your money. It's not just an office job you can do from home. And let's face it, when people are looking at a decision that's either I follow public health guidelines or I am not able to pay for my rent or I'm not able to pay for my food and not able to provide for my young family, right? What decision are you really going to make if you don't have the support needed in order to actually follow these guidelines? And it seems like different levels of government are sort of putting blinders on, saying, okay, I've already done enough about this issue. We see the provincial government saying, you know what, we're not going to double up on the CRSB. It's already there. Why should people be able to claim more on top of that? And at the same time, the federal government's saying, hey, we already have the CRSB for you. But I think there's a lack of recognition that once you apply for this once, or even in some situations where you're not eligible for it, people are being forced to go out and work in highly interactive jobs, highly public jobs, when they're not eligible for this benefit or they've already claimed it. So we're definitely going to be keeping our eyes peeled on this channel for any responses to this or any future benefits that people in this position could be able to apply for in order to help them out as we sort of try to get through the tail end of this huge health crisis. And I'm really curious about what you think about this situation. Is there enough support that's out there already and enough spending going on to support people? Or do you think that additional benefits, either by the provincial governments or the federal governments, should be brought in for this exact issue? Whichever way you think about it, I love seeing all the awesome discussion we're having down in the comments section below. So if you want your voice to be heard, make sure to drop a comment there. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, consider sharing it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope this video helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time.